What if I told you some movies could change your pulse rate? These aren't just action films, they're the ultimate rush, the defining legends of cinema where danger feels real and every second counts. Today, we're counting down the 25 greatest action movies ever made, as seen through the eyes of legendary critic Roger Ebert. These are the stories where heroes rise, legends are born, and every heartbeat could be your last. From gravity-defying chases to battles that change cinema, these films set the standard for adrenaline on screen. So, grab your seat. This is the Action Movie Hall of Fame, and the ride is just beginning. The Wild Bunch. There are films that define an era, and then there are films that shatter it, sending its broken pieces tumbling into the future. Sam Peckinpah's The Wild Bunch is both a eulogy for the American West and an uncompromising vision of violence that would change the language of action cinema forever. The opening sequence, with its children gleefully burning scorpions, is a blunt metaphor for the film's worldview. Innocence is not only lost, it is trampled. Peckinpah's band of outlaws, led by William Holden's Pike Bishop, are men out of time, struggling for dignity as the world they once ruled slips through their bloodied hands. But it's not just about violence. It's about the weight of choices, the bonds of brotherhood, and the tragic beauty of lost causes. The film's action sequences, particularly the climactic shootout, are orchestrated with balletic precision, using slow motion and cross-cutting not to glorify violence, but to reveal its horror. Peckinpah doesn't flinch, neither does the audience. In Ebert's eyes, The Wild Bunch isn't just a great action movie. It's a reckoning, a film that forces us to look into the heart of darkness and find, if not redemption, at least understanding. Goldfinger. Goldfinger is the moment James Bond became a global phenomenon, a heady mix of danger, wit, and pure, stylish excess that would come to define not just a franchise, but a genre. Sean Connery's Bond is at his most iconic, every line delivered with a smirk, every action scene crackling with tension and invention. This is the film that gave us the Aston Martin DB5 with all its gadgets, the laser beam near miss, and the unforgettable villain, Gert Frobe's Auric Goldfinger, a man as flamboyant as he is ruthless. The action is both elegant and inventive. Ebert praised how the film balanced spectacle with cleverness, never letting the explosions overshadow the personalities. And then there's Shirley Bassey's title song, which doesn't just set the mood, it defines it. Goldfinger is both escapist fantasy and a sly commentary on the Cold War world. In Ebert's world, this is not just an action film, it's the blueprint, the gold standard by which all future spy adventures are measured, north by northwest. Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest is a fever dream of suspense, wit, and relentless forward motion. Cary Grant's Roger Thornhill, an ordinary man caught in a web of mistaken identity and international intrigue, races from the streets of New York to the windswept plains of the Midwest, chased by both government agents and a conspiracy he barely understands. The action here is not only in the set pieces, though the crop duster chase and the climax atop Mount Rushmore are rightly legendary, but in the way Hitchcock orchestrates suspense itself. Every scene is a puzzle, every escape a stroke of luck or wit. Ebert always appreciated how North by Northwest used humor as a release valve, letting audiences catch their breath before plunging them into peril again. In a world where action can be mechanical, Hitchcock makes it psychological, rooted in character and the primal fear of being hunted. Few films balance tension and fun as perfectly as this one. It remains a masterclass in cinematic propulsion. Seven Samurai. Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai isn't just an action film, it's an epic, a meditation on honor, sacrifice, and the burden of violence. Its influence radiates outwards, reshaping everything from Hollywood westerns to modern blockbusters. The story is deceptively simple. A village hires 7 samurai to defend them from bandits. But Kurosawa infuses every moment with life. Each character is indelible, from Takashi Shimura's wise, weary leader to Toshiro Mifune's mercurial, tragicomic outsider. The action is raw and immediate. The climactic battle in the rain is as brutal and beautiful as anything ever filmed. But what elevates Seven Samurai is its heart, the sense that every life, every choice carries weight. Ebert recognized Kurosawa's ability to blend action with philosophy, to create not just thrills, but empathy. This is a film where every sword swing matters, and where heroism is measured not by victory, but by sacrifice. Jaws. Before Jaws, summer was just a season. After Jaws, it became a cinematic event, a time for thrill rides and communal fear. Steven Spielberg's breakthrough isn't just a monster movie. It's a tightly coiled exercise in suspense, character, and perfectly timed action. The shark may be the headline, but it's the trio at the film's center, Roy Scheider's embattled Chief Brody, Richard Dreyfuss's cerebral Hooper, and Robert Shaw's legendary Quint, that gives the film its depth. The tension is ratcheted up by what you don't see as much as what you do. Spielberg's restraint, forced by a malfunctioning mechanical shark, turns every ripple in the water into a cause for panic. When the action explodes, it's both cathartic and terrifying. Ebert often remarked on how Jaws was less about the creature and more about the people, their fears, their courage, their failures. The film set the standard for modern blockbusters, but its soul is in its humanity. The good, the bad, and the ugly. If action films are about style, Sergio Leone's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a revolution. Here, every stare, every twitch of a finger, every note of Ennio Morricone's immortal score is an act of violence. The Civil War rages in the background, but the true conflict is between men. Clint Eastwood's stoic Blondie, Lee Van Cleef's chilling Angel Eyes, and Eli Wallach's Electric Tuco. Leone stretches the form to its limits, turning every gunfight into an opera of tension and release. The final showdown, a triad of glances and nerves in a sun-bleached cemetery, is as much about psychology as it is bullets. Ebert recognized the film's artistry, its willingness to linger, to let action build like thunder before the storm. This isn't just a Western or an action film, it's a myth, a fever dream of greed, violence, and unexpected grace. The French Connection. The streets of New York have never felt more alive, or more dangerous, than in William Friedkin's The French Connection. Gene Hackman's Popeye Doyle is an anti-hero for the ages, as relentless in pursuit as he is morally compromised. The film's action is grounded in grit, car chases that feel reckless and out of control, shootouts that are messy and unpredictable. The famous chase beneath the elevated train isn't just exciting, it's exhausting, the kind of scene that leaves you breathless and shaken. Ebert admired The French Connection for its refusal to romanticize violence. The city is a labyrinth of vice, and the chase for justice is messy, often fruitless. But the adrenaline is real, the stakes never in doubt. This is action as chaos, as obsession, as a fever dream of pursuit. Superman. Before superheroes became a cinematic staple, there was Superman, a film that dared audiences to believe a man could fly. Richard Donner's vision is both earnest and thrilling, a blend of awe-inspiring set pieces and genuine emotional stakes. Christopher Reeve is perfect. His Superman is noble, gentle, and quietly humorous, while his Clark Kent is a model of awkward charm. The action is leavened by wonder. Superman's first flight, the rescue of Lois Lane, the spectacular helicopter sequence. What Ebert appreciated most was the film's sincerity. Superman isn't cynical. It embraces the myth with open arms, trusting that audiences want to be uplifted. Every punch, every leap is grounded in character, in the hope that goodness can still win. Raiders of the Lost Ark. Adventure has a name, and it's Indiana Jones. Raiders of the Lost Ark is pure kinetic energy, a globe-trotting romp packed with peril, wit, and unforgettable set pieces. Harrison Ford's Indy is the everyman hero, bruised, battered, and always thinking one step ahead, sometimes by accident. Spielberg's direction is lean and inventive. The action is both thrilling and character-driven, from the boulder chase to the truck fight. Ebert loved the way the film married old-school serial thrills with modern filmmaking craft, never letting the audience catch their breath for long. Raiders is the very definition of an action classic, fun, funny, and thrilling. It's a reminder that sometimes the greatest treasure is the adventure itself, the bridge on the River Kwai. At its core, The Bridge on the River Kwai is a film about obsession, duty, and the madness of war. David Lean crafts action not just through explosions, but through the clash of wills. Alec Guinness's Colonel Nicholson and Sessue Hayakawa's Saito, two men locked in a battle of pride and survival. The construction of the bridge is a feat of both engineering and storytelling. The tension builds slowly, methodically, until it bursts in a finale as inevitable as it is devastating. Ebert valued Lean's patience, his willingness to let suspense simmer. The film's action is never mindless. It's driven by character, by the terrible calculus of war. The bridge on the river Kwai isn't just about what men do, but why. And the answer is never simple. Stagecoach. Long before action films became a genre of their own, John Ford's Stagecoach set the template, a masterclass in ensemble storytelling, tension, and explosive release. What makes Stagecoach remarkable isn't just its legendary chase sequences or the precarious ride across hostile territory. It's the way Ford layers action with humanity. At the center is John Wayne, making his star-making turn as the Ringo Kid, a man with a past, driven by vengeance but defined by a kind of battered decency. The stagecoach is filled with outcasts, each carrying secrets, hopes, and disappointments. The film's action, whether the thundering attack by Apaches or the tense shootout, is always rooted in character. Every shot fired, every horse galloped, reveals something about who these people are and what they're willing to risk. Ebert revered Stagecoach not just as a Western, but as one of the foundational American movies, a film that made action meaningful, never letting spectacle eclipse soul. In Ford's hands, the journey isn't just across a landscape, but through the boundaries of class, morality, and survival. Scarface. Brian De Palma's Scarface is an action film, a crime saga, and an operatic descent into the abyss, all wrapped in a fever dream of 1980s excess. Al Pacino's Tony Montana is a force of nature, his rise and fall painted in strokes as broad and violent as any Greek tragedy. What separates Scarface from other gangster epics is its raw, unfiltered energy. The violence is shocking, almost grotesque in its excess, but never without purpose. Each action scene, whether it's the chainsaw horror in the hotel or the climactic "say hello to my little friend" massacre, serves as a reflection of Tony's unraveling psyche, his insatiable hunger, and the self-destruction that comes with it. Ebert was fascinated by the way De Palma uses style, the camera gliding through neon-lit nightclubs, the cocaine-fueled paranoia, the mounting sense of inevitability. Scarface is as much a portrait of the American dream gone rancid as it is a work of action cinema. Every bullet is a punctuation mark in a story about greed, ambition, and the wages of violence. Gungadin. Before the word blockbuster was coined, there was Gungadin, a sprawling, rousing adventure inspired by Kipling's poem, bursting at the seams with action, spectacle, and a kind of boyish exuberance. Cary Grant, Victor McLaglen, and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. are the quintessential trio, soldiers of fortune, stumbling through a wild and dangerous colonial India, forever one step ahead of both danger and discipline. The film's set pieces are legendary, rope bridges swaying over ravines, chaotic brawls, cavalry charges that seem to swallow the very earth. But what gives Gungadin its pulse is the camaraderie, the blend of high-stakes danger and slapstick humor that makes every action scene both tense and joyful. Ebert saw in Gungadin the pure joy of cinema, a film that revels in adventure, even as it grapples with the darker legacies of empire. The final sacrifice, when Din proves himself a true hero, gives the film a bittersweet edge. In every punch, every leap, there's a reminder of the movie's power to thrill, to move, and to unite us in wonder. Bullet. There are car chases, and then there is Bullet. Peter Yates' film is the gold standard, a study in cool precision and the existential loneliness of the action hero. Steve McQueen's Frank Bullitt is a man of few words, but his presence fills every frame. The city of San Francisco becomes both his playground and his prison. The film's legendary chase sequence, roaring Mustangs and Chargers tearing through steep city streets, remains unmatched for its realism, its propulsive editing, its almost documentary sense of danger. But Bullet is more than just metal and rubber. It's a meditation on professionalism, on integrity in a world where lines blur and loyalties shift. Ebert admired how Yates kept the action grounded, letting suspense and geography do the work instead of cutting corners with easy spectacle. The violence, when it comes, is quick, messy, and never glamorized. In Bullet, the real action is internal, the tension between duty and doubt, the cost of doing the right thing when the system is broken. The Guns of Navarone. War is chaos, but The Guns of Navarone brings order to it, at least for 2 pulse-pounding hours. J. Lee Thompson's film is both a classic war epic and an ensemble action thriller, with a team of specialists tasked with blowing up an Axis superweapon on a remote Greek island. The film is a masterclass in suspense. Every obstacle, from treacherous cliffs to German patrols, is a new test of wit and courage. The action is methodical, deliberate, built around the slow grind of preparation and the hair-raising tension of execution. Ebert appreciated how The Guns of Navarone avoided easy heroics. Each character is flawed, and every decision carries consequences. Betrayal is possible at any moment. When the action explodes, gunfire in narrow mountain passes, desperate sabotage in a cavernous fortress, the stakes feel earned. The film is as much about trust and sacrifice as it is about pyrotechnics. In the end, it's a tribute to the unsung acts of courage that win wars, and the heavy burdens heroes carry home. Yojimbo. With Yojimbo, Akira Kurosawa gave the world not just a masterwork of action, but an entire subgenre, the lone wolf anti-hero who manipulates a world gone mad. Toshiro Mifune's nameless Ronin wanders into a town torn apart by warring factions and sets about dismantling them with wit, strategy, and bursts of brutal swordplay. The film's action is often sudden, shocking, and deeply physical. Every movement by Mifune is a study in economy and explosive power. Yet, Kurosawa infuses the violence with dark humor, irony, and a kind of existential fatigue. Ebert admired the way Yojimbo made action an extension of character. The hero fights not for glory, but because the world leaves him little choice. The film's visual style, wind-blown streets, tense standoffs, and rain-soaked climaxes became instantly iconic. Yojimbo is not just an action film. It's a dance of strategy, wit, and grim fatalism. Its influence from westerns to noir is incalculable. The General. Before dialogue, before color, there was pure action, silent, visual, and ingenious. Buster Keaton's The General is the pinnacle of silent-era spectacle, a Civil War comedy that turns locomotives into instruments of chaos, timing, and sheer cinematic genius. Keaton's Johnny Gray is a man of principle, chasing his beloved locomotive through a gauntlet of obstacles, sabotage, and narrow escapes. The action is balletic. Train chases, collapsing bridges, and impossibly timed stunts, all orchestrated with the precision of a Swiss watch. Ebert often marveled at Keaton's courage. He performed his own stunts, risking life and limb for the sake of a joke or a gasp. But The General is more than just comedy. It's a testament to resilience, resourcefulness, and the relentless momentum of hope. In a world of modern effects, Keaton's magic endures. The thrill is as fresh as ever. Benhur. If ever there was a film that redefined the limits of action spectacle, it is Ben-Hur. William Wyler's epic is legendary for its scale, the sets, the extras, the thundering chariot race that remains a benchmark for cinematic awe. Charlton Heston's Judah Ben-Hur is a man torn by fate, injustice, and the yearning for redemption. Every action sequence, from sea battles to gladiatorial contests, is grounded in personal stakes. The chariot race is pure, kinetic poetry. Each wheel, each collision is felt in the bones. Ebert praised Ben-Hur for its balance between grandiosity and humanity. The film is never just about the set pieces. It's about the struggle for dignity, faith, and forgiveness. In every clash of armor, every pounding hoofbeat, the heart of the story beats strong. Lawrence of Arabia. Some action movies are about spectacle. Lawrence of Arabia is about vision, both the vision of T.E. Lawrence and that of director David Lean. Peter O'Toole's Lawrence is a man driven by destiny and contradiction. His journey across the endless desert is as much about the mind as the body. The film's action unfolds on a vast mythic scale. cavalry charges that sweep like storms, surprise raids at dawn, the conquest of Akaba. Yet Lean's genius is in the stillness, the quiet tension before an attack, the silence after violence. Ebert found Lawrence of Arabia to be one of the great cinematic experiences, a film that makes you feel the heat, the thirst, the thrill of the impossible. Here, action is transcendence, each moment a step on the path to legend. The sweep of the desert, the intimacy of combat, both are rendered unforgettable. Paths of Glory. Stanley Kubrick's Paths of Glory is a war film, but not a triumphant one. It is an indictment, a howl against the machinery of death, and an exploration of the futility of action when the world itself is insane. Kirk Douglas leads a doomed charge across no man's land, a sequence as harrowing as any in cinema, not for its spectacle, but for its pitiless honesty. The violence here is not heroic, it is tragic, senseless, inevitable. Ebert recognized Paths of Glory as a film that refused comfort, that forced viewers to confront the real cost of orders given from a safe distance. The action is brief, shocking, and devastating. The true battle, Kubrick reminds us, is not on the field, but in the struggle to maintain humanity in the face of dehumanizing power. Every gunshot, every command, every tear is a wound that never heals. The Great Escape. There's a particular thrill that only a Great Escape movie can deliver, the sense of hope, rebellion, and ingenuity in the face of impossible odds. The Great Escape is more than just an action classic. It's a celebration of resourcefulness and the indomitable spirit of men who refuse to surrender, even when imprisoned behind enemy lines. Based on a true story, John Sturges' film brings together an ensemble cast led by Steve McQueen, whose motorcycle leap over barbed wire became an instant legend. Yet, it's not just about one man's daredevil heroics. It's about the meticulous planning, the coded communication, the small acts of defiance that build toward one giant, audacious bid for freedom. Ebert admired how the film balanced tension and camaraderie. The moments of quiet, communal effort matter just as much as the bursts of action. The escape sequences are expertly paced, each step ratcheting up the suspense. And when the action comes, sprinting across open ground, tunneling through dirt, dodging searchlights, the stakes feel heartbreakingly real. What lingerie is not just the exhilaration, but the cost, bravery met with loss, and victory tinged with sacrifice. The Great Escape is action not as spectacle alone, but as the purest form of hope, the Dirty Dozen. There are action movies that follow the rules, and there are those that throw the rules out the window. The Dirty Dozen is proudly, gleefully in the latter camp, a film about outcasts, anti-heroes, and the wild chaos that erupts when you set the unlikeliest warriors loose on a suicide mission. Lee Marvin leads the titular 12, prisoners offered a chance at redemption, or at least survival, if they undertake a mission nobody else will touch. The action is raw, relentless, and unpolished. Ambushes in the woods, brutal close-quarters fighting, explosions tearing through the night. Ebert relished the film's reckless energy, its sense that anything could happen and that heroism often emerges from the least likely places. The Dirty Dozen is a study in organized anarchy, with a cast that feels real, flawed, abrasive, and alive. The film's final assault is one of the most intense and protracted sequences of 1960s cinema, building tension to a fever pitch and refusing any easy release. It's a film that reminds us that sometimes the only way to win is to embrace chaos, break the rules, and find courage in desperation. Shane. There are few images in American cinema more iconic than a lone rider moving toward the mountains, his work finished, his place in the world never secure. Shane is the quintessential Western action film, but its true power lies in the quiet between the gunshots, the moments of longing, decency, and sadness that haunt the frontier. Alan Ladd's Shane is a man defined by restraint. He doesn't want violence, but he carries it with him like a shadow. The action, when it comes, is shocking in its swiftness. George Stevens' direction emphasizes the weight of every shot, every punch, every sacrifice. Ebert noted how the film's action is never gratuitous. It's the last resort, the inevitable answer to a world that will not let men like Shane escape their pasts. The conflicts between homesteaders and cattle barons are grounded in real history, but Shane turns them into myth, yet never lets us forget the human cost. The final gunfight is legendary, not for its body count, but for its sense of finality, of innocence lost. Shane is an action film that mourns as much as it thrills, forever riding into legend and memory. Rio Bravo. Not all great action comes from endless movement. Sometimes the greatest tension is found in waiting, in standing your ground when everything is against you. Howard Hawks' Rio Bravo is the quintessential siege film, an action western where the drama is found as much in the spaces between the bullets as in the shootouts themselves. John Wayne's Sheriff John T. Chance is a model of stoic courage, holding his tiny jailhouse against a corrupt land baron's army, joined by a ragtag group that includes a drunk, a young gunslinger, and a wily old man. The action is methodical, driven by strategy and character. Each shootout is a release of tension, each narrow escape earned through grit and partnership. Ebert admired the way Hawks found heroism in teamwork, in patience, in the courage to outlast rather than simply outgun. The camaraderie, the music, the suspense, they all build to a finale that is as satisfying for its emotional payoff as for its fireworks. Rio Bravo is proof that the heart of action lies not just in spectacle, but in character, loyalty, and the quiet courage of those who refuse to run. Did your favorite make the list, or did we miss a classic? Let us know in the comments. If you loved this countdown of action legends, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling movie deep dives every week. Your support keeps our passion for cinema alive and fuels the search for the next great film adventure. Thanks for watching. And remember, in the world of movies, the action never stops.